Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Nacho Tuesday. And today I have my friend Ari Silverman here with the Code Registry. And without further ado, we would love if you could introduce yourself and what you guys do over there.
Thank you, Andy. My name is Ari Silverman, heading business development and sales over here at the Code Registry. What we're doing over here is solving a very real and exponentially growing problem that everyone and their mother is vibe coding, outsourcing development to third-party dev agencies, or more likely just vibe coding and using AI to generate code. So we are a deterministic analysis, verification, and reporting layer, not just for the technical side of things, but then we utilize AI outside of our analysis to simplify it so business executives, non-technical, can take action and honestly better understand what their team and their business is up to.
Great. How did this whole company come about? I know you kind of came on a little bit later, but what's the overall vision for the company, and how did you get started with the Code Registry?
I'm a lucky duck. I'm not even sure if I technically interviewed for it, but so the company itself, the more important bit is Stephen Gray, our founder. He headed a development agency for, I think, 15 odd years. And more or less, his CEO wasn't very technical, but their clients were, paying for their services. And so as Stephen was leaning on several developer tools to basically, analyze, report, and, properly track and verify the code that he was writing, and this is before AI, he realized there was a massive gap as AI started to enter the field where his clients were asking for information that took him quite a lot of energy and time to decipher piecemeal from each dev tool. He would, translate it the best of his abilities and hand that over to the companies. Lo and behold, the companies loved that sort of visibility, especially as verification kind of dropped off a cliff as AI and generative code development skyrocketed, the speed and velocity code could be written. And so that was where the Code Registry came about. Was there was an absolute gap where executives and business leaders just simply couldn't understand what was being built anymore. And then where we plan on going is, frankly, we see ourselves as the verification layer with this continuing evolution of generative AI. So as far as we're concerned, part of SOC compliance, your code is registered or it's not. You either have this sort of visibility and capability of reporting on what code you own, how secure it is, the quality of it. That is where we see ourselves going, is that verification layer as you use generative AI.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are getting ahead of their skis, so to speak, where it's so easy to code now. Even even your dad can do it.
My cousin built something the other week, and he's like, "It's amazing. I'm thinking of selling it." I'm like, "Please just run it first, like for the love of God, like check it, please." And
it's another dating app, like how many of those do we have?
And it doesn't help anyone find love any sooner, it turns out.
Yeah, let's go online and digitize everything and ruin relationships, actually.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's for a separate topic. But so everybody's feeling the vibe right now, like that's hence the name vibe coding.
Yeah.
So everybody's, really just launching new software products left and right. But what's the biggest misconception that founders have about that speed? And what are some of the downside risks of it?
Yeah, I mean, so AI will help you build something that works. That's great and all. But what it also introduces more often than not lately is it will introduce security risks or compliance risks. So, that brother of yours, that dad of yours, everyone's building an app. It leans on open source components that AI, I need a bit of code that solves this problem. You ask AI to deliver that, and it will deliver that. But what it's actually pulled from is a licensed piece of code that someone has ownership over. And while it's shared with the public, it's still, tied to those licenses. So there are certain ways to actually conduct yourselves and insert that and implement that bits of code, along with, of course, performance and security risks as you're just bringing on code you did not write yourself into your business. That's an inherent risk, but it's the actual quality of, hey, we can prove we own it. We can prove we're compliant as you go forth as a company, whether that's for raising capital, whether that's for a grand sale. There's these big moments that you can avoid massive slowdowns or tank your value if you're just ahead of the game with proper verification, which wasn't a problem a couple of years ago. It is now with the velocity of generative AI. You just can't keep up with it anymore without a tool like ours.
Yeah, and a lot of people are just launching very similar, like a lot of like websites, especially when you look at them, you could just tell they're AI generated. So there's a certain consistency that kind of comes with all AI generated products. And if you know what you're looking for and you've seen enough of them, you'll kind of see it over and over again. So like I think having like a unique angle or like some aspects still of custom development where you could really make your product shine and stand out on the UX component,
Yeah.
uh, just being a Me Too product, which there's a lot of those coming out these days.
No, and to that point, and I'll shut up. It really is, there's going to be 1,000 different apps potentially leaning on the same open source component or dependency that none of them own, but all of them think they're building something super valuable. And they just kind of carry on and say, well, the chatbot works, so why am I worried about it? It's beyond that. If it works, great. But again, there are rules and regulations in every industry. Why the heck is it not going to be coming with a hammer for this industry as it keeps growing in the past 3 years, let alone the last month? What's changed?
Yep. So when does fast progress become an illusion? And when can teams recognize this, that, while they are getting a product out there quickly, like when is it starting to become a problem? Is there any like red flags that they could look for early on and maybe identify that they might have a problem that maybe the code registry could solve for them?
Yeah, so there are certain things that we would identify, but I guess if the thought is, how would they know if they need us in that example? It really can be identified as, do you have a ton of legacy code? Are you inheriting a repository that you're just unfamiliar with, the architecture? Are there just unknowns about the code base or who's been working on it or who was working on it? So with that sort of, I don't know, if you have the development tools and you have someone who's willing to commit the time and energy of going through those dev tools, or if they bring them on, yeah, maybe it's more of a nice to have where the code registry would just save you a ton of time in understanding the code base. Or if you just have someone who's on the business level who just simply wants to know what they paid for when you asked for that code sprint last month, like what was actually accomplished. So if these questions are coming up, if someone wants to know, what's going on in the code, but doesn't know much about tech, or you're a technical person and you simply do not want to go through all of the code yourself and audit it. I mean, I feel like I see a new LinkedIn post every single day from someone saying they just audited their AI code and it was a train wreck. So those kind of questions popping up more and more, we are there to solve that problem. Quickly understand it as soon as possible, have answers that are translated from tech jargon to simple terms if that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, what good are you as a tech company if you don't even understand your product and your code? There's so many of these companies launching and they don't even know what's in the code.
Well, so that I don't want to get too distracted, but Stephen Gray, our founder, he's presenting. He made a presentation for next week coming up, and I'll try to send it to you. Maybe we can get some collaboration there. But he really identified, and it's just the last couple of years, the phases that we've gone through. And when AI was first starting, it was actually a safer place for everyone because they didn't trust AI. And so they verified everything. But as AI has whether gotten better or better at explaining why it did things, even if it's complete mumbo jumbo, it has gotten a lot better at elaborating on why it made that decision, even though it's completely made up. And so people went from not trusting AI, so they verified everything, to, okay, AI is pretty good, I'll still verify it, but it's not generating as fast, so it's still manageable, to now you're an idiot if you're not using AI. If you're a developer and you're not vibe coding, like what's wrong with you? You're falling behind. So now people are just pushing AI on themselves so much more, and that it's become like, okay, now everyone's just kind of forgotten the trust factor, trust but verify factor. It's completely lost in the sauce at this point. Sorry for the tangent there, but
No, it's good. We're talking about like very important risks that people should know about because, vibe coding is the vibe right now. And everybody's, trying to figure out how to get their apps out there faster, but nobody's screaming at the top of their lungs saying, slow down. Actually, there's a better way to do it. Let's button this up a little bit. Right.
Yep.
So I guess do you have any examples of companies, obviously not naming names, we don't want to throw anybody under
No,
the
no.
bus here, but any like real world examples that you could point to maybe where a company, got a little ahead of their skis with shipping a product and then that created some sort of vulnerability or issue later on?
Yes, there are several. There's one that sticks in mind, and just because there's multiple steps here that are like, how could this have happened to them? But then it'll kind of relate to everyone. So we are also used in technical diligence. So for investment firms, they will use us to either augment or replace their technical diligence.
Yeah.
Different ways of us doing that, but ultimately we lean on our tech that is available to everybody. And so they came to the investment firm and they said, there's only about 6 million lines of code that we have to worry about when they were running us through. We're like, okay, 6 million lines of code, easy peasy. Turns out they had 24 million lines of code.
Wow.
And this is all, I came from real estate, so you definitely don't want the leverage to be in this scenario, the buyer side. You want to be the seller with this knowledge and at the very least disclose this stuff. So not only did we find that they had so much legacy code that their relatively new CTO wasn't even aware of, we obviously found massive tech debt in there, compliance issues, security risks.
That's a big miss.
A big miss. So here's the kicker, though, and this isn't this kind of story that helps us sleep well at night. We think everyone should have us before this kind of nightmare scenario happens. Their valuation tanked by a couple million. We were able to help that investment firm because they were using us, identify and basically rapidly fix those problems. So it wasn't that big of a deal to the investment side because they were using us, but to the seller, it was a massive problem. It showed that their CTO and tech team actually couldn't be relied on. So it ended up with a massive changing of the guard in the dev department. And that's not to get too distracted. We have been said, well, we're big brother. We're analyzing, we're verifying, we're looking over the shoulder of the dev team. No one is going to have any problems with a dev team or a CTO who says, hey, I have this new tool, the Code Registry, that helps me identify the current existing problems and helps me solve them. No one will get fired. You will not get in trouble if you're like, hey, I found out something wrong. Let me fix it. Who gets in trouble is when you're under due diligence and it now has cost your company tons of money. And it is now, that's when that tech team got completely upended. So that is the problem we're trying to solve. Unfortunately, in this scenario, it was during that huge inflection point of a diligence run on a company that was trying to sell.
Easy come, easy go, right? So if it's easy to ship product, but the moment you open up your kimono and you're trying to build it into a real business, that you're going to get called out.
I mean, we were part of proving that they didn't even own a large portion of their code. They were just simply not prepared, and it was as easy as just signing up with us for time before to just understand that and call it out and fix the problems.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is definitely go to the Code Registry, check it out, get that fixed before before somebody else figures out that you have a problem.
Hey, verify your code at the very least, but the Code Registry, if you want to solve your problems too, we're happy to help.
Nice. And what are the kind of AI generated technical debt is there that the company should be aware of as they're vibe coding and shipping products super quick? What kind of technical debt can that create later on? Sounds like many extra millions of lines of code that you never knew you had.
Well, I mean, there's that's a crazy example. I hope that has only come up once in that drastic of a scenario. There's obviously legacy code that's kind of slept on, but that was a crazy scenario. But I will say to avoid being repetitive, oftentimes, and this is one element that we really shine, oftentimes when you are using AI to write code, what will happen is they might take a snippet of an open source component with a dependency licenses attached to it. But even when you're having, Codex write your code and introduce that problem, and then you're being super responsible and saying, now I'm going to have Claude check that bit of code. Yep. AI does not have the capability as of yet, or without us integrating. I'm looking at you, Anthropic, hit us up. But basically, they will not do a good job of detecting snippet level of open source components. And so you might not even be able to detect, even if you were looking for it, what kind of tech debt you have in your code. Even when we are compared to manual audits, as much as you want to have a human confirming things, there are still things humans miss. And so we have partnered and been very selective with certain products that give us these opportunities. We didn't invent everything under the sun. We have specifically partnered with companies that have proven to be deterministic and hard coded in finding these problems, and then consolidating them all under one web app, which would be the Code Registry. So that is an example of, even if you're looking for open source components you think would have been introduced, you're not going to be able to find it yourself without something like the Code Registry or partners that we utilize to offer this snippet level detection.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a ton of security vulnerabilities as well too, right? If you don't really know your code, you don't know where to look. So I guess what kind of security vulnerabilities are created from this, massive vibe coding effort?
Yeah, I mean, one, who wrote that code? I feel like there's a news article every week now about a security breach. And so part of their discovery is, how did this even happen? So that's part of it. And then a lot of the security risks we might find will be manageable, expected. It's just at least identified. So without being an engineer myself, this is one of those times where I'd love Stephen to be able to answer it more in depth. I would just say, hey, if it's a problem, from error to severe catastrophic problem, what we're finding in what's often in human code as well is just errors, performance errors, potential open doors, back doors that might have been introduced because you did use AI to introduce a package. Again, can't go too into it because I'm certainly not that technical, but that's my understanding of the kind of security risks that are just inherent in any development, let alone introducing packages that you didn't write yourself. It's like letting someone install my locks without me installing it myself. Do they have a key? I have no idea. When I sold a house back in my previous life, I would always say to anyone, I'm like, great, they gave you the keys, change your locks immediately. Like, no matter what, that was just a part of the sale. I'm like, cool, change your locks. Like, I don't care that they gave you a key, change them immediately,
Yeah, and anything free to always be a little wary of too.
I heard a great saying. It was, the only free cheese is on the end of a mouse trap. There's no such thing as a free lunch. All those kind of terminologies, it's more or less correct all the damn time.
Yep. Yeah. And so where does AI commonly break in production? AI generated code, actually. Is it like when you hit to a point of scaling? Is that when the vulnerabilities really start to propagate and maybe more issues start to come out that, you probably could have solved in the beginning if you weren't heavily leaning on it too much? Where do you commonly see the problems start to really emerge?
Yeah, I would say, again, not an engineer, but I've been well versed and asked Stephen a billion questions at this point. It seems to boil down to performance and security, and at scale, it could start small. And if you're just a team of 1, 2, 5 developers, we very much might just be a nice to have because it's still manageable. Like, that is totally a reality that we are willing to accept. But as you grow, as you keep introducing these simple functions, Stephen mentioned one like an n+1 function. Not going to pretend to be a coder here, but it's part of, as you scale, these things might not break off the rip, but all of a sudden, you're doing a data retrieval in one section, and as you have more and more users, maybe at 100, because every data retrieval results in another data retrieval, all of a sudden it can break at those inflection points of 5 users, 10, 50, 100. And, we don't have a magic seeing eyeglass to tell you exactly where your code breaks to that point. But what we can do is monitor what could cause it to break. And if it does break, okay, what actually happened there, and quickly find the problem and understand the solution and be able to explain it too. We're a reporting tool at the end of the day as well. Like, be able to answer questions about it.
That's key. A lot more important than just saying, hey, there's an issue. Okay, what is it?
Yeah. Your house is on fire. Cool.
Yep.
How do we put it out? It's like,
exactly. Yeah.
We'll put it out for you, but we'll also tell you how to put it out if you want.
Yeah, it's called water. So I guess, have you seen any best practices emerge for like how to leverage maybe the vibe coding efforts, but maybe building a product, from the ground up that's going to have that scalability in the long run? Do you maybe, say the engineers should focus really much on the architecture from the very beginning and then maybe use vibe coding for more scaling UI and UX, but more of the backend stuff's done by you? And then maybe when you get to scale and you have a solid foundation, you might be able to build faster and iterate upon that using vibe coding tools.
Yeah. Not to cheap out. It can be done whenever. So obviously you prefer a solid foundation. Luckily, you can retroactively with us find those problems and fix them, which is great. But we also anticipate this. Again, you asked where I could see us being in the next 5 years, God willing. It really is just part of the process of hopefully any generative AI tool. We don't want to say vibe coding is bad. It has become bad because we've moved off of the verification. So
Yeah.
a typical process we can say you have is whether you're retroactively fixing problems, we can solve that for you. We're great at legacy code reading. And that's when you should do it. If you're building something, your process can now be to vibe code something, but then it's just another step. Vibe code, verify, fix the risks if needed, take an understanding of what we've provided you and make a decision, and then you can deploy live. So yes, if your foundation is crap, go fix it. We can help with that. If you're building something, insert us into the process before you say we're ready for this AI or software to be implemented into our repository or our platform. Use us or verify in general to say, hey, are we ready to implement that solution? Are we ready to adopt that sort of functionality? Will this break us? Will this expose us? So you should be verifying no matter where you are in the process, I guess is what I really mean to say. And I'm proud to say that we are a solution for that retroactively for legacy code, but also as you build. It just won't be as, every line, use Code Registry. It's maybe a once every day or two or week or sprint, hey, verify all of that before you move forward, right? If that's the development cycle.
Yeah, we definitely need some guardrails back in place again.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yep. And I guess how does vibe coding affect scaling from maybe 100 to 100,000 users? Do you have any ideas on the change in strategy you might have there, like building an MVP and then getting to a point to where you want to scale? How do you properly utilize and deploy vibe coding efforts?
Well, I want to say whatever the company allows you to do. There should be at least some regulations of, what vibe coding tools are permitted in a business. If you're building something from the ground up, it's hard to say because this isn't my expertise. Just something that comes to mind is, if you are vibe coding, it can get out of hand real quick. And maybe I'll just lean on this because I don't want to answer a question that I simply can't answer to the fullest. But if you are vibe coding, which is everyone, I have yet to meet a founder who can answer this simple question: is how many lines of code do you even have? And I want that to be kind of a point of where we apply in so many ways. But because I can't answer your question to the fullest, something that does pop into my mind is, when is the right time? It's like, when is the right time for you to just know if there are issues at hand? It's like, you can't answer the simplest questions about your code. I'm not saying that's going to destroy your company overnight, but it is one of those things where, isn't it always better to just have the ability to answer these questions, and certainly have someone more technical than me driving home reporting, aka our reporting tool, where I don't have to pretend I know the answer, but you actually get deliverables and proof of that. That's my bailout there, Andy. So
I like, it makes total sense. Like I feel like if you're building a product, you should know your code and you should know your product like front to back, right? As the engineer.
Yes,
yeah,
and
us as the front end guys, don't get me talking about software engineering because I call the engineers for those efforts myself. So
we got to get Steven on here for one of these because it'll bore me because my God, his brain is.
Well, once you get the two engineers talking, we're just kind of sit in the back and write notes, I guess.
I've gone to a few Cursor, developer meetups, and I can confidently say I have no idea what they're saying 90% of the time.
I'd
but
like to
damn
stay
it,
on the
I want to
fun.
learn. I want to learn.
Yeah, it's a foundational thing too, right? If I went to school for it, but yeah, I understand conceptually like product development and all that, but I could kind of say I could read it, but I can't write it. So like vibe coding for me has been like, I've been using vibe coding for a lot of fun things on the side, just building little random things here and there, website development, like
I feel
you
like
know,
everyone has like a stock
yeah,
ticker. I've heard the stock ticker. Everyone builds their
yeah.
own stock tracker. Got to get one of those.
Yeah, and just to understand it too, right? But it's really just communication is all it is, really just telling them what you want. And, in the past, I've really done that a lot with engineers, but, there's always that layer of understanding in between, right? Now you have that interface. It makes it almost too easy.
Yep. Steven said it used to feel like cheating when vibe coding or AI was first introduced.
Mhm.
He'd almost feel like he was cheating the system, and developers wouldn't want to share with how they were writing code so much faster.
Yep.
And it was because of that. So I'm glad we've come full circle where we're fixing this problem as well.
Yep. You're like, hey, you got that website up pretty quick. Are you vibe coding?
No, I'm just the fastest man alive with fingers. It's fine.
Yep. I just worked all night, a lot of caffeine. um, so if you were an investor, what red flags would you look for in a startup that's heavily relying on vibe coding, which is pretty much 99% of companies coming out these days?
Yeah, I think Google said the other month at this point, by 2030, 90% of
Wow.
code will be touched by machine learning or written by machine learning in some way, shape, or form. So, I mean, it's just a lack of standard security practices. It's a lack of strong encryption on passwords and secrets. You're depending on a lot of third-party dependencies with all sorts of licenses, lots of code and little understanding of how it actually works or why it was written in a certain way. Key person dependencies. One example was a company that would, back to the investor example, different company, but they found that, from the original team of developers, two of the three were gone. And so 70% of the code was either written or only known inherently by one person. They
Wow.
hadn't given him a promotion, or
Let
rather,
him get hit by a bus.
well, precisely, but that's one of our more morbid things. Like, what happens if that guy gets hit by a bus tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like 70% of your code, your biggest asset potentially is just misunderstood, like
Yep.
indefinitely. Like then you pay X amount of dollars to have someone figure it out retroactively. It's just it's not reasonable. So that's a lot of the risk inherent with not having this understood and architectured properly and understood on the diligence side. That's
Yep.
where value comes into play, dollar value. How risky is it if someone got hit by a bus tomorrow? Could it continue?
Yeah, that's the right questions any investor should be asking, and they should be using tools like Code Registry to really understand the code and the quality of it, right? At the end of the day, what are you buying as an investor?
Yeah.
If you don't, if the startup themselves don't even understand their code, what is the business here?
I mean, I'm writing a white paper right now, so I came from residential real estate for a number of years. And I can guarantee you the homes that always sold for the most amount of money, most offers, had the most leverage on their side, did pre-inspections, fixed major problems, and disclosed minor problems.
Yeah,
And that's all we're really having and introducing is proper third-party independent analysis and verification and basically disclosure, right?
yeah,
And so on the flip side, the best deals I would consistently get for my clients on the buy side were going into homes where they didn't disclose anything. We found with our own independent analysis, aka our own code registry, coming in, inspection report, structural engineer coming in, and all of a sudden we find these problems. I don't care that it might cost $1,000 or it would have cost you $1,000. I don't trust you as much anymore. I don't
yeah,
want to deal with the headache of fixing that. So even though I know how to fix it, I know the relative cost. I don't want to deal with that. What other problems maybe I didn't find? Maybe I don't trust you anymore. You know what? Instead of $1,000 of value, I'm going to
yeah,
ask you for 2,000. And I would consistently get that for clients because I'm not a miracle worker. It was just you want to be the one to have the leverage. And so if you're discovering it one way or another before the deal happens, you are
totally.
in a position of strength
Yep,
and heads up and honesty. So you get
yep.
the best deals that way in all ways of life.
Yeah, that's totally true, especially with investors. You just really need to anticipate the things that they care about, put yourself in their shoes, and understand, what would be important for them to want to invest into the company. And obviously having a secure code base and understanding your code is critical for that, right? And so if you get yourself caught blindsided in an investor meeting or when they're doing due diligence, you just didn't prepare well enough.
No, that is, doomsday situation. So if you're watching this and you're thinking of selling or cap raising, now would be also a proper time.
Yep.
But again, we want to just be part of the process from start to finish. So you don't have to be nervous about answering questions about your code. It's going to exponentially be a bigger part of your business from here on out. So, know it.
Yep. Know your code. I like it. So what's next for the Code Registry? What do you guys have coming down the pipeline? Anything to be excited about?
Yes. So we're unveiling. Oh God, I hope I don't get in trouble. So we're unveiling. I'm pretty sure we have the patent already. So we're unveiling.
You heard it here live on NachoTuesday.
Oh God. Well, I'm glad it's on NachoTuesday and not me accidentally getting caught speaking on the train.
Yeah.
But no, we're unveiling a code score. So we want this to be accessible to as many people as possible. So while the Code Registry full platform is massively helpful for giving you not only what's wrong, is there something wrong, how to fix it, report it, prove it, but we're also unveiling some exciting stuff where, hey, if you just want to verify your code real quick without all the bells and whistles of how to fix it, just have a brief grasp of it. We're launching Verify Your Code pretty soon, where it's a much more affordable option, doesn't pack as much punch by a landslide, but it's a quick snapshot of, hey, what is the current condition of my code? What is my current code score? So we're really excited about that. It could help with people, honestly, just comparing notes, comparing vibe coded apps they built. And also don't forget, we give you a cost to replicate, how much it would cost to replace your code on
transparency.
Yeah. So if you want to compare how much your vibe coded tool versus your friend's vibe coded tool compares to each other, we also offer that. So that's exciting for investors as well as developers.
Very cool. Yeah, I like the PLG motion that you have going there, letting people try the product and see that they have a problem, visualize it. And then, of course, there's always more that you need to do. And, of course, more features that you guys offer. But at least it gives people a taste just to kind of visualize that there is, in fact, the problem. And then they, can do something about it, actually.
Yep. And that's rooted in Steven is an amazing business person, but a better person. His core principle when launching this was democratize code intelligence for everybody. And so as much as our full platform is incredibly valuable, especially comparing one of our tools alone we offer, if you paid for that by yourself, small company, $35,000 a year, our smallest package is $300 a month. Go to NachoNacho for a discount if you want.
Wink, wink.
But that is, part of our value. Now, even at that, we want to showcase at a smaller budget. We're a business. We obviously need to exist with the purpose of paying our bills, right? But we also are rooted in trying to constantly find ways to make sure we're in front of as many people as possible. We are focused on users right now. Big ticket contracts, amazing. I'll take them all day. But the reality is we are rooted in goodwill, deterministic analysis for every single person who is writing. And that's where our 5-year plan is that I mentioned. We just want to be part of what code writing even is in the future, the near future. This verification layer is just expected. It is inherent in code writing, is where we want to be and we expect to be in the near future.
You guys have a great vision. You can tell you're authentic about it too. You guys are really excited to help solve this problem. And, frankly, thank God somebody is, because it's getting out of control out there.
It keeps the conversations from a year ago to now, where is this even a problem? We skated.
Like, oh yeah, we need you.
Yeah, right. We skated to where the puck was going, and people were like, well, why do I care about this? What does it matter? And now the same people who are like, what does it matter? Oh, I'll figure it out closer to sale. They're like, okay, this is a real problem that everyone is dealing with. No one knows what they own. No one knows anything about the apps they're trying to sell or anything. So it's we've been trying to preach to the choir for a year plus now. So finally we're getting the recognition we deserve, and it's thrilling, and I'm happy for the whole team, genuinely.
Very cool. So where do people learn more about the Code Registry? How do they try your service today and see what they could unfortunately discover maybe?
Yeah. Hey, solve it before it really bites you in the wallet.
Exactly.
So the coderegistry.com or the coderegistry.ai both go to the same place. There you can schedule time with me. We can discuss a potential quick view of what you've got going on in your code base. And obviously, we are here to answer your questions. We have partnerships. So if you want to be an ambassador, if you think you're well connected, to introduce us to people, and that includes developers, that includes the CEO of OpenAI, whoever you want to send our way. But truly, go to the coderegistry.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Ari Silverman, and we're here to help answer questions and frankly shape our value around what is needed in the industry.
Amazing. Well, Ari, great having you on today. Again, everybody, you can find it also in the NachoNacho marketplace. We always have the best products. We like to skate where the puck is going, and so of course, we have these guys on there for a great discount. We are your first stop for software savings because we do have all the great brands at the best prices. Again, Ari, thank you so much for coming on today. Looking forward to seeing you at New York Tech Week. I'll send you a special invite to our Founder VC rooftop event that we're doing. Should be
a special invite. I hope there's more than 2 plates of cheese this time, Andy. My
God. We're a startup, but this time I think we're gonna double or triple that amount, right?
All right, good. I need more cheese. I'm not complaining about the cheese. I just the quantity of the cheese. I need more in my tummy.
That's good customer feedback. I'll make sure that we have more cheese this time because I'm a cheese fan myself. So
excellent, awesome. No, but Andy, you're the man. Thank you so much for having me on. This is exciting.
Likewise. All right. Well, I'll see you at New York Tech Week. And now that I know there's a problem I didn't before, I'm going to get a bunch more cheese for
there
New York event. So I'll see you there.
I'm the cheese registry. Know your cheese.
Exactly. There you go. I'm signing up today.
All right. Thanks, Andy.